Hi, I get Quora questions, and my Quora question for today is from Lyneth, and she asks, how can I reduce my weight naturally? How can I reduce my weight at home? It's a very important question, and I wondered about this question for literally decades because I did struggle with my weight from age 8 until about age 43, until I figured how to drop my carbohydrates and increase my weightlifting to deal with my hunger. So, how do you reduce weight naturally, and how can you do it at home? Well, you have to have two things in place. You have to have your nutrition plan in place, and you have to have your training plan in place. And what I found is by first getting rid of added sugar, and then getting rid of potatoes and pastas and carbohydrates, and then reducing down to keto, and then finally by going carnivore, I was able to get rid of my constant hunger. So here's the way it used to be. I would eat high carb and I would do high cardio, and I would be hungry and weak and tired by 10:30 in the morning. As I replaced carbs with an appropriate amount of protein and fat, and then as I replaced all that cardio with resistance training and then some intervals, what happened was my appetite normalized and I had normal hunger. And as I changed my diet over the years, less and less sugar, I found that I needed only 2 meals a day and I just wasn't hungry during the day. So the key to losing weight and losing fat, I believe, is just finding a way to eat so that you're not hungry all the time, and then finding a way to train so that you're not tired all the time. So you'll see behind me, I've got my weight rack. I used to have a fitness studio, so I've got all of this equipment. And then also I've got a squat rack here, which I got on Amazon.com, which wasn't horribly expensive. And then I've got all of the bars, and then you can see that I've got a pull-up strap there. So with free weights, you don't even need the squat rack if you're not an advanced trainee. And then also with the pull-up bar that I can put just in the doorway, I can work on my upper body, lower body, and get everything done right here at home. My muscle definition is starting to come back as I'm really starting to focus on training for the summertime. So to answer my Quora question, how do you do this at home? You've got to find a way to manage your nutrition. And then really, I would just say if you want to get started, you could just get a pair of 5s, a pair of 10s, and a pair of 15s. Maybe get a pull-up bar. You don't have to do it right away, and then you can get started. Also, and I'll put a link to it. I have another video that is the 9 lifts that I always do, and I used to start clients this way, is that just 9 lifts just one time. So you're going upper, lower, upper, lower, upper, lower. So I might start with a push-up and then do a squat and then do an overhead press and then a Romanian deadlift and then rows and then maybe a T-bend. So you're alternating until you get the 9 in, and you start with your hardest lifts at the beginning. So for me, that would be the push-up or the pull-up, and then to the squat and then to the deadlift. And so that's how you set it up. And I'll definitely do more. I'll write that out because I've actually got a video where I actually demonstrate the whole thing. So that really is the key to doing these things at home. And also at home is so important because that means you're going to be cooking at home. One of the things that has happened to us, as definitely here in the States, is that we run out of time. We're running around, we're trying to work. Maybe you have a family like I do, and you don't think that there's enough time to cook. How do I handle that? Well, here's how I handle it. Well, my husband is obviously a grown-up, and my son is 21 now. And so they can handle their own nutrition. But what I do is I make sure that I've got their protein handled every day, whether it's going to be beef or pork or chicken or fish. I do that in the morning, and then I have that all set for them. And then sometimes I'll also make a vegetable for my son and my husband or for his girlfriend. And then if they want to add carbohydrates to that, they can. But I would say to the gal who asked the Quora question, how do you lose weight at home? You also have to cook at home and manage your protein first, and then handle your fats, and then handle however many carbohydrates you can handle on top of that. Speaking of carbohydrates, my progression, as I said, is I got rid of added sugar, and then pretty much all of the sugars and the pastas and the carbohydrates. And then I did go keto. And I just want to grab really quickly for you. Dr. Eric Westman was instrumental in my ability to go keto without going crazy. And I went keto originally in 2008. It's 2022, and I've stuck with the ketogenic approach all that time. And the beauty of it is, and why do I stick with it? Because when I do this, I'm hardly ever hungry. And so he has written, I got my glasses here, End Your Carb Confusion. So Dr. Eric Westman has a new book, and he's written it with Amy Berger, and it's called End Your Carb Confusion. It's available on Amazon. You can get a sample of it on your Kindle if you're interested. Why is this so important? Way back when I originally went keto, I got his little purple book that's maybe, like 30 pages long, and you can't get it anymore. It's completely out of print. I think some crazy people are selling it for like $100 on Amazon. But that original book had what they called the page 4 diet. So on page 4, it was so simple, and it had, all of the things that you could eat to stay in a ketogenic state. And so I would say to anybody asking me this question, losing weight naturally at home, you've got to find a way to keep it simple. And that's the beauty of what Dr. Eric Westman did for me with his book, his original little purple book about the ketogenic low carbohydrate diet, is that it was so simple. And he even says in his new book, which is called End Your Carb Confusion, or is it Keto Confusion? Well, I think it's Carb Confusion, is that it really is simple, that you simply reduce carbohydrates, which is what I did, until you get to that point where you're satisfied and energized, and you're not thinking about food all the time. Because I think that what happens to so many of us, and the reason that we can't lose weight, is maybe you can white knuckle it for a while. You can cut your calories, you can increase your movement, and you're gonna lose some weight, but you're just hanging on, you're hungry, but you're so committed because you want that weight loss so badly, and you're just gutting it out. But eventually, and this is important, weight loss, your weight and your hunger, that is an autonomic system. It's intrinsic, like breathing and circulation and all of these things, like making brain cells. You don't consciously do those things. It's an autonomic system. That's your hunger. Imagine this. Think of somebody telling you, just eat less. And you'd be like, okay, maybe I can just eat less. All right, now think of it this way. What if somebody said to you, well, just breathe less? So you're saying, gosh, I'm using too much oxygen. Well, just breathe less. Well, just try that for a minute. And I think breathing is so different than eating, but it will really help you to understand the concept is you can only hold your breath for so long, and you can only force your appetite down for so long. Which is why I believe that a ketogenic approach or even a carnivore approach is so effective, because I'm not holding down my hunger. I'm satisfied. I'm satisfied with an appropriate amount of food. So what have I got behind me? The other thing she's asking is, how do I lose weight naturally at home? Eating can be fun. Eating is a stress reducer, and sometimes we don't eat because we're hungry. We eat because we're bored, or we want to break the pattern, or we want to take our minds off of something. And that's why I've got my guitar behind me. I've got my little parlor guitar acoustic that I can take anywhere with me. And then there's my bigger Yamaha. And then I also have an electric guitar, and I also play the piano. Because sometimes you're just feeling ill at ease, you're not really hungry, but you want something to do, and you might be tempted to reach for food if you don't have something else to do. For example, I'm not very good at this, and that's not the point. You don't have to be that good at these things. This is the pastel that I did just recently. So this is a watercolor pastel. It's not, nobody's gonna hang that in a gallery, but I felt pretty happy about it, and I did it with these inexpensive, these are just watercolor pastels that are made by Crayola. It was like $9 for 24 colors. And so it gave me something to do that was satisfying and that would ease my boredom and just make me feel good about myself, that wasn't involved with food. And so I would say that is so important. You've got to figure out your nutrition. You've got to figure out your training. And then also you've got to figure out what you're going to do for pleasure and stress reduction and relaxation in order to replace your food. So yeah, that was one of the biggest revelations for me, is that deal with your hunger, deal with the natural, physical, biological hunger, but also deal with your emotional hunger, which very often is a hunger for creativity, for connection, for happiness, and just for plain old pleasure. So I want you to think about the things that you could do: drawing, music, singing, reading, tap dancing. Finding a hobby, finding something that you enjoy doing to replace those times where you're bored and you want to reach for food. I am Catherine Gordon. That's my answer to the Quora question for today: how to lose weight naturally, figure out your nutrition, figure out your training, and then find other ways to have fun that don't involve food. All right, I will see you back here soon, either in the Sugar Freedom Kitchen or in the Sugar Freedom Workout Space. Be well, everybody. Eat for yourself. Bye-bye.